Here's that patch of corn that was tasseling too small, and I tilled it and we replanted, and it's coming up really nice. And we should have plenty of time to get harvest off of it. So the extra tilling really knocked the weeds back too. But there's a few of them coming up, but it's not out of control like some other areas. We got a good weeding on the onions the other day. We've got bindweed that gets in here, and once it gets entwined into the onions, you're done weeding them. Because if you pull it, it just pulls all the onions up. So anyhow, we're doing our best to stay ahead of them this year. It's been tough. We got all the garlic dug. I get a picture of it, it's on the card up there. And most of the garden is doing really well this year. Green beans are really just taking off. They were a little old when they got planted out and stressed a little from being too late to get them planted, but they seem to be making recovery. We're getting some good beans off of them. So Susan's got flowers scattered all over the place. Some beautiful sunflowers, and the bees get all over those as soon as it gets a little warmer and they're up and doing their thing. A lot of this is planted with the bees in mind. It's you know, nice, they're nice plants too, but she's trying to pick stuff that the bees will use and like. The more they come and collect on their own, the less I have to feed them. Red Delicious got a pretty decent set, but it's a lousy apple. But most of the rest of my fruit did not set well this year, mostly because of the torrential rains that we had in the spring. I think it just beat the blossoms to death. So, as everywhere we do have fruit is where it's protected from those heavy rains. And down here in the main garden, she's got lots more flowers. Different kinds of sunflowers, Petunias, and I think there's some painted daisies around here. I think that's what these are. Marigolds. And boy, some of these sunflowers are just impressive. The size of the stalks on these things. This thing's just huge. So everything else is coming along. The peppers are starting to set. Cucumbers are a little slow. Been waiting to get those. Got one head of dill up doing its thing. So, and this is our dent corn. It's a red corn for grinding, and it's already tasseled and the silk's dry and it's doing its thing. I believe we're going to go through, take the tops out, plant peas inside of it there, so we can get another pea crop. We've eaten some of our peas that we've planted freshly, but we've lost a lot of them just for not getting to them. And Susan has planted a lot of rotations of them, just little batches so we can nibble. So then up here, there's honeybees in here working it. She's got Lacy Facelia, which was up really thick and dense until it got a little tall and started to fall over. But the bees really like it. And then if we can get inside here, she's planted some pink buckwheat. This is the same sort of buckwheat that my bees are on out in Sheridan, where I just moved them to. But here she put it in kind of as a cover crop. This is a new spot that we just planted right here, tilled up and planted in. So she got the Lacy Facelia and the pink buckwheat in here just kind of as a cover crop. Knock the weeds back a little and get something growing. So try to get some of these weeds that are left in here out before they go to seed. Saves a little hassle next year. So anyway, things are growing, doing well. Squash is taking over the world as usual. Mostly crookneck. Summer squash. She didn't do any zucchini this year. So anyhow, there's a report on the garden. We've got these baskets, petunias and stuff growing. She's got barrels out here with zinnias and things in them. Getting a little shot of water on them this morning after she worked all night. But all of these flowers all got started in the greenhouse from seed. There's a good hose. Another junker with a leak in it. So yeah, she's all these beautiful petunias in these barrels. There's no way we would buy this many, you know, starts at the price they want for starts. But Susan gets them in the greenhouse going early, and you know, we just have gobs of them. So some nice maroon colored snapdragons up here. Use some of my old bee boxes for planters because that old planter rotted out. It'd look a little better if I got them painted, but that's is what it is for now. Side note, I guess, the greenhouse, I better not forget it. So the early crop of broccoli that we had put in is sending out its little heads, and so we can come through here and glean it, or when we're putting up broccoli from the big garden, come through and clear them out and freeze it up. I got one good batch done up. So Susan's got peppers over here. Peppers do great in the greenhouse and they'll produce long ways into the fall before we get a killing frost in here. The other things that do well in here are watermelon. See, we got a little watermelon on there. We just kind of try to keep them encircling in this little raised bed. And she's got some other melons and stuff over here that are probably cantaloupe or honeydew melons. Most of the bench stuff's done. It's gotten hot in here, and they're done. But there's some things that just thrive in the greenhouse. My strawberries, I try to throw water at them, but I think Susan doesn't water them much this time of year. Doesn't matter, those are runners that I dug and threw in there in the spring, and I do it every spring. So we don't need to keep them alive through the whole year. They're not a lot of soil in there with them. It's just nice to get a few strawberries early. And here she has loofah, the loofah sponge growing up these strings, and celery's struggling in here. It's taking a lot of water. So that about wraps up the garden tour.